Oh, okay. Yeah. Finally, I have my face on the camera. All right. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Let's meet you. Tell us your name. Tell us where you're joining from. Um, I'm looking up for your rest of that section. To be nice to meet you. Um, again, let me for those that are joining us for the first time, let me talk about the purpose of this podcast. Of this show and why we're here. So if you look at the details attached to this event, you will see that I started by saying that there is um there is an urgency, right? There is a call for the emergence of educators who can use their space to touch the world around them, right? There is a great need for that at the moment. For learning designers who understand the gap between school, the society, and the workplace, and who also have the toolbox and the skill set required to close these gaps, right? So I said there is a call for the emergence of educators who can use their space, right, to touch the world around them. So you think about that quality of learning, right, that can happen, that it starts from the classroom, but then it's touching the world outside of the classroom, right? That kind of transferable and valuable and impactful experience. There's a call for such kind of educators, such kind of learning in the world that we live in today. There's been a large disconnect between what happens in the school, in the classrooms, and what happens in real life for a very long time, right? And education is so powerful and has the potential to affect our world and to change the tune of things, right? There is a call for learning designers who understand the gap between the school, the society, and the workplace. People that have the tool set, that have the skills, the toolbox, and the skill set required, right? The mindset required to close these gaps, right? There is a call for learning designers, not just teachers, learning designers. Teachers talk about subject mastery, right? But learning designers talked about context mastery. I like to call it context mastery, right? And by the way, in this age that we're in right now, right, subject mastery is no longer something to be proud of, right? Like I was saying the last time, it is no longer something to be proud of. Subject mastery, right? Because no matter how good you are in any subject, you can't be as good as technology in that subject, right? So technology is going to beat you down in that subject. I remember when ChatGPT first came out, and then a number of tests were run on ChatGPT and on whether it can pass some exams or not, and and the results were mind blowing. I remember going through that report. I don't know if you saw that report when ChatGPT first came out now, right? ChatGPT is how many years old? ChatGPT is not 2 years old yet. So think about a child that was given birth to that's not up to 2 years old and that has that kind of capacity. Think about what that child can do in five at 5 years old and 10 years old. But here's the point, right? Subject mastery is no longer something to be proud of as a teacher, right? The whole landscape is changing. And that's why we're talking about disruptive educators here. The whole landscape is changing, definitions are changing, purpose, essence, many things are changing, right? And that's why you need to rethink your role, right? And that's why and that's the call. That's the reason for this club, for this meeting, for this podcast, for these conversations that we're having right here, right? Um, you know, People that have context mastery, people that understand the context outside of the school environment and have the potential to, you know, to close the gap between school, the society, and the workplace, right? So yeah, so welcome to a community and a network of educators who are designing and creating authentic, transformative, and transferable learning in K to 12 that translates to human capital development, social impact, and economic growth, right? So that's the essence, right? So that's the essence. Um, One sec, please. Let me check something here. All right, great. So yeah. So yeah, and that's all we're here. That's all we're here. So the conversations, the things we talk about here, they are going to revolve largely around very current issues, right? I talked about context mastery, right? As a disruptive educator, one of the skills, one of the things you need to have is context mastery. And that's why one of the things that we're going to be doing here is that we're going to be discussing about trends across the various industrial landscapes. uh, we're going to be breaking into the world of context mastery, because you are not just going to be a teacher, right? There is a shift, right? There is an emergence of learning designers, and that's one thing I usually say. We do not need teachers anymore really in our classrooms. We need learning designers, right? We need learning designers, people that understand the power of experiences, people that know how to manipulate experiences, right, to create great outcomes, right? We're talking about people that know how to create experiences that can lead to self-discovery, that can help these students discover their potentials and put them in a place where they are not just students, they are now agents. They can add value to their immediate society, right? People that have that kind of capacity, right? And like I always say, today teachers are teaching subjects, but in the future, teachers are going to teach skills. They're going to teach in demand skills. Today, teachers are teaching subjects, but in the future, teachers are going to teach in demand skills. And that's why you just don't want to see yourself as a teacher. You're a learning designer. Um, that's one message I've been preaching for quite some time everywhere. You're a learning designer. Yeah, so if you're joining this show for the first time, my name is Adebayo. I'm the head of research and chief learning designer at EAZY-DIGI, right? I'm also an education futurist. I'm very passionate about that. Um, so you on LinkedIn, you hear me talking about things like, oh, what are the possibilities? What can happen? What should we prepare for? And all of those things, right? I'm very passionate about that. And just recently I was sharing some insights, right, about what I've seen based on the signals that I'm catching, what I think will be what I think we should expect, right? The changes that can come into the K-12 landscape, whether it's in Africa, Nigeria, or anywhere across the globe, right? Um, what is going to happen? Where is that post? Let me read it right from what I have here. What is going to happen is that we are going to see. Let me read it from here so I don't miss any point. Okay, yeah. So I see a possibility, right? And that's the emergence of global schools, right? The emergence of global schools. Please stay with me. The emergence of global schools. Now, below are some possibilities, right? Here are some possibilities. So I said teaching as a job or as a role will be more disrupted and globalized. Teaching as a job or role will be more disrupted and globalized in the sense that, as a school, for example, in Africa, you can have learning facilitators for various subjects and skills that are distributed across the globe. Now, what is going to happen, and by the way, that is already happening, we're seeing an emergence of alternative learning platforms and alternative learning provisions, right? I know quite a number of them, but even personally interacted with some of those platforms, and we're seeing that rise, we're seeing that emergence, right? Do you know that even right here in Nigeria, I've met parents that I've had conversations with who have told me that they will not take their kids to a school, right? In fact, one of them took one of our courses and she was like, she wants to create an alternative schooling system for her child. I spoke with one yesterday. Yeah, today is Tuesday. Yeah, I spoke with one yesterday, and he was telling me about all of these things, how he doesn't believe in the traditional model. It was, so right here in Africa, right here in Nigeria, right, we're seeing parents just like Elon Musk, right, that pulled his kids out of their school and created Adastra, that school for his kids, right, a separate school. We're seeing an emergence of parents like Elon Musk, right, parents that are saying because of their exposure, because of what they are seeing, they don't like the traditional model. Parents are looking for a different kind of teachers, right? But the point there again is that this light and this move, right? The light is becoming clearer by the day, right? And schools in the K-12 landscape are beginning to see this, right? Are beginning to see this over and over and over and over. And there are some drivers that I'm seeing as well. I'm seeing some drivers that will, that will facilitate, the execution, right, of this kind of learning model, right? I call them global schools. Stay with me, right? So So there's going to be a mix of subject and skills, right, that are being taken. So we're going to have subjects like AI literacy, subjects like cybersecurity, right? So those things are going to become part of the subject spectrum in the K to 12 landscape, right? And you're going to see more, education entrepreneurs, embracing that fact, and they're going to say, "Oh, yeah, it's true. Yeah, because we want to prepare kids for reality, for the real world and all that. Let's begin to have these things, right?" Just like all of a sudden, schools, in Africa started doing coding and robotics, and like that wave just came in, right? There's another conversation around coding. I'll come back to that later, right? But then that's what we're seeing, right? There's going to be that wave, and schools are going to start adjusting, right? So, for example, you can be a school in Nigeria, but your math teacher is virtual and from South Africa, right? And let's say your AI literacy or your cybersecurity teacher is from Rwanda, right? And these individuals can be Africans in the diaspora for the sake of role modeling. So, furthermore, schools will take more responsibility for their curriculums, and there will be a shift towards skills development. Now, this is already happening, but the fact that it's being embraced at the level that it is right now, we can see that in the nearest future, in the next 5 to 10 years, right, it's going to be stronger, right? Shift towards skills development, and hence there will be a great deliverance from traditional exams. People are going to start developing this apathy. There's going to be low priority for the traditional exams, right? Because of the um because of the the level of value, right, that is placed on that right now, right? There are so many things that are coming up, and traditional exams are largely being challenged. Stay with me. The global economic realities, right, that we're seeing today, we drive this. That's one of the drivers. One of the drivers for these things we're talking about is the global economic realities, right? People are beginning to rethink their lifestyle, and that's why you have parents. I just give example of parents that I've spoken to personally, right? You have parents that are coming up and they're saying they don't want it anymore. We're gonna have more and more parents who are coming up with that kind of thing, saying they don't want it anymore, right? So yes, if you're a school leader and you're listening to this conversation, think about your business by 2030. What kind of parents will you have by that time, right? I can tell you for a fact, because Africa is the most fertile continent, right? And if Africa is the most fertile continent, then we're talking about Nigeria. So we can say Nigeria is the most fertile, because we're the largest population in Africa, by the way. So Africa is the most fertile continent. We keep giving birth to kids, So, and of course, for example, in Nigeria, the median age is about 18 to 19 thereabout, right? So you can see that by 2030, right, the parents that might want to bring their kids to your school, if you run a primary school and the likes, they're going to be people between the age of 25 and around 40 thereabout. Those are the kind of customers, people you have that are coming to patronize you. And these are the kind of people we're talking about, right? Who people that their work, their career experience and their work lifestyle is going to be quite different, right? These are going to be people that, let's say most of them right now, they are still in the Gen Z category, and they are going to shift towards. These are people that are going to tell you that they are exposed. They are just like Elon Musk. It got to that point and I was like, no, I won't take my. They are going to be so exposed, and they're going to want something more. They're going to want something more because of the global economic realities. That's going to be a major driver. I mean, just last year, a number of entrepreneurs came out and said they don't want the BSc, the MSc, you know, uh, 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 to hire people, right? I know they're asking for is just if you have micro credentials, if you can validate, with your portfolio that you have these skills. That's all. Just asking for portfolios shows that you can do this and shows that you've done these things, and that's all, right? So that's a signal. And by the way, that is going to keep growing over and over and over time. So we are approaching, not we are approaching, we have approached a skills first economy, right? We have approached a skills first economy. So there's that skill first thing that is ringing right now, right? It's not a weak signal, it's a very strong signal. It's a trend, it's ringing, right? The skills first economy, the skills first approach, right? That's ringing. And I can tell you in the next 5-10 years, that's going to become stronger, right? Now, so this is yeah, we drive this. And education entrepreneurs will be forced to review their business models and value. Yes, education entrepreneurs in Africa, in Nigeria, across the globe, they're going to be forced to review their business models and their values. And that's why I'm also seeing a possibility, uh, you know, uh, maybe schools will no longer do salary arrangements, work for a month, and because it's going to be disrupted, right? So as a school, you have facilitators that are distributed across Africa from various places, right? And maybe they'll be paid based on hourly engagements. Oh, you do 5 hours with us for a month. Your class is only 5 times every month, and we're paying you based on that and all of that, right? These things are going to happen, right? They are really going to happen. All right. So the K to 12 business model is going to be disrupted. It's going to look different. It's going to look very different. And why am I telling you this? If you are a teacher, if you're an educator, I'm telling you this so that you can prepare for that time. I'm telling you this so that you can be relevant when it gets to that period. This is going to be collaboration and partnership on a higher level for K-12 education in Africa and learning in Africa schools. So the context here is Africa. Sorry, if you're not joining from Africa, I'm sorry, I'm talking about Africa now. So this is going to be collaboration and partnership on a higher level for K-12 education in Africa, and then learning in African schools will potentially reduce the skills gap on the continent. This will also be the pathway to solve the disconnect between school, society, and the workplace. As professionals from other industries become learning facilitators in our schools in Africa, there will not be too many teachers in school. Today we're talking about the global teacher shortage, and I think day before yesterday about I was checking the graph as regards the various continents and where you have the highest, right? So for now, the highest is still from Africa, sub-Saharan Africa. Um, the global teacher shortage is saying something to us that it is time to disrupt the system, right? It's time to leave what is no longer working and look for what can work. Like I said, the global economic realities is going to be a major driver for these things I'm talking about, right? Schools will have to adjust because of these things, right? Many schools are trying to adjust now because of the global economic realities, right? This is not about just Nigeria; it's a global thing, right? Trying to adjust, trying to see how they can, how they can manage the whole thing, right? But this is what can happen, right? And we'll probably have more teachers leaving the classroom, right? So the global teacher shortage, I don't think is something that's going to reduce. It's not going to reduce. It's not going to reduce because people are now envisioning and desiring a new lifestyle, a new path for their lives. They want to work differently. They're prioritizing their mental health. They want a place where they can be happy. And so many changes are going to come in. Oh, let me get back to LinkedIn on my phone. What do you think about this conversation? What do you think about the first thing we're looking at in today's session? What do you think about this shift? Does it make any sense to you? I'd like to hear from you in the comment section. What do you think about this? Does it make any sense to you? I'd like to hear from you. So, like I said, the reason I'm saying this, as a disruptive educator, right? Everything is changing right now, and you need to rethink your role, right? You need to review your skill set, right? You need to review your skill set. What can you do, right? You need to review your skill set right now. One of the things I wanted to do was to share this. I'll try and do that under this post. I'll try and share the links under this post, right? Was to share the free course. If you haven't seen that, the free course released by Google on AI, and the one also released by Microsoft through LinkedIn on AI. Those courses are very important because as part of your skill set as a disruptive educator is AI literacy. AI literacy is very important to you. It's one of the skills that you need to have, right? As someone that is thinking about the future, as someone that wants to be relevant, as a disruptive educator, you need to have AI literacy, right? I'm going to look for the link to those courses, right, so that you can take them. And the courses are not too long, right? This is something you can even finish within a day, but don't do that so that you can be able to digest the whole content, right? And all of that. So yeah, those free courses, it's just going to take you into the world of AI, generative AI, so you can understand what's happening there, right? So you can understand how to use it and all of that. Both the one from Google and the one from Microsoft through LinkedIn as well, right? So please don't miss that. That's very important, right? Yeah, so this is the time to start preparing yourself for this reality, right? The world is a global village, right? As a disruptive educator that you are, if you're listening to this, you are a global citizen, right? You can be a global educator, right? And so you can work with, there's going to be that demand, I tell you, right? The question is, do we have it right now? We do. At least I've seen some online schools across Africa. I mean, fully online schools across Africa, right? So there's that demand right now. And then the question is that will you be rightly positioned for such kind of opportunities? Because it comes to the level of flexibility and it's more fulfilling, right? So the teaching profession is going to be disrupted over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And one thing that's going to happen is that the traditional model will be forced to adjust. Like I said, will be forced to adjust with respect to teaching and how it happens, with respect to learning and how it happens, with respect to personnel, right? It will be forced to adjust. And you know why I said that? I talked about the parents of the future, the parents of the future in the schools that we have today, even in Africa. The parents now, this might not, the distance we are talking about here, might not touch all of Africa, right? But this is really going to touch, of course, majorly the urban, sides of Africa, right? It's going to largely touch the urban, areas of Africa. It's going to largely touch the urban areas of Africa. That's going to be the narrative, right? So there's going to be an emergence of parents who are a new breed of entrepreneurs who desire a different lifestyle, who desire a different vision for work, right? And so they are going to want a different kind of education for their kids, right? And the question is if you are going to be ready. I mean, like I said, just on LinkedIn, a parent walked up, saw one of our courses and like she wants to attend this course. She wants to know how to design authentic learning in K to 12, real learning for a real world for a child. And so for 4 weeks, she took the course with powerful experience and such an amazing and lovely parent. Very passionate. Like I've never seen that kind of parent before. It was really so nice. I was like, wow, wow, wow. So these are signals. These are signals that cannot be ignored. And the question is, are you ready? Are you ready? Right. So on this platform, like I said, I started by talking about the issue of context mastery. Then I quickly digressed into this particular information I just shared. Again, please, I'd like to hear from you in the chat section. Please share your thoughts. Let me know what you think about this conversation. What do you think about this conversation? I'd like to hear from you, please. Yeah, I'd like to hear from you. What do you think about this conversation? Does it make sense to you? Are you also looking at it from another perspective, right? Are you seeing some new possibilities, right? And do you have any question? If you have any question, again, feel free also to ask your question. I'm more than happy to respond to your question, and then we can look at this together, right? Yeah. So I started today by talking about context mastery, right? Context mastery as against subject mastery, right? Yes, one thing I believe that we are gradually moving from the era of subject in the traditional model today, right, to courses and skills, right? So I believe that over and over and over time, there's going to be a shared value. There's going to be a shared value um, between subject, that's the math, the English, and those things. There's going to be a shared value between those things, and then courses and skills, right? Courses and skills. There's going to come a time where we're going to be thinking more and more about courses for these kids and skills about them, right? And again, this is because we're now in the skills first economy, right? There is a skills first movement, a skills first narrative that is very strong and will become stronger and stronger and stronger by the day, right? That's very, very sure, and that's very, very certain. It's very sure and it's very certain. The skills first narrative is never going to go away, right? That's the new normal right now. That's the new normal right now. And that's why it's very important. Like I said earlier, today teachers are teaching subjects, but in the future, teachers are going to have to teach skills, in demand skills, right? In demand skills, in demand skills. And that's why it's very important for you, right, as a disruptive educator, right? Because you cannot give what you do not have. And that's why it's very important right now that you want to review your skill set, right? You want to review your skill set. It's very important, right? Because you need to become what you want your learners to become, such that when you stand in a classroom, you are creating a powerful, an electric, and a magnetic atmosphere, right? because every time you talk, you speak from a place of depth. Like I said the last time, right? Every teacher creates his or her own atmosphere, and that atmosphere is a function of your knowledge base, right, and your learning experiences, right? Those are the two things that teachers bring to the class. You create an atmosphere. You may not know it, but you always create an atmosphere, and that atmosphere determines the depth, right? I mean, that atmosphere determines, right, how much of intelligence you can draw from your students, right? That atmosphere determines what ultimately becomes of your students in that classroom, your knowledge base and your learning experiences. And that's why, if there's one thing you want to do as an educator today, is that you want to give yourself to a lot of learning. Very important. I mean, learning through seminars from time to time, through conferences, through networking, joining the Disruptive Educators Club like this. You want to put yourself in a place where you are learning always. You are learning always, right? From the media, like I always like to talk about the World Economic Forum. You're paying attention always to the World Economic Forum, right? Just following the World Economic Forum on LinkedIn alone, there is a whole lot for you to learn every day. I mean, those short videos they release about various innovations across various industries is speaking a lot of volume. And these are things that can become part of your instructional content, right? Aha. These are things that can become part of your instructional content that you're sharing with your learners, right? Because you need to be able to always connect them with today's world, right? And that is context mastery. That is context mastery. Context mastery, your ability to connect your learners with today's world, right? That's context mastery, right? And so it's very, very important that you build yourself in that area. That you build, so whenever you stand before your learners in the classroom, you are speaking from a place of depth, right? You understand what is going on across the various industries, right? You understand the stories, the evolution, the trends, right? uh those are the kind of people winning in our classroom today, right? People that when they stand, they can become that ladder that will help the students that are sitting there right there to climb, right? To climb. It's very important. It's very important. And that's why you want to pay attention to your knowledge base, to what you know as a person, to your knowledge base, and to your learning experiences, right? What are you, we're not talking about subject mastery, right? In this zone, we are not talking about subject mastery. Like I've said, right? Technology is going to beat you in that area, right? The reason why you are still needed in the classroom today and you'll be needed in the classroom in the future is your creative capacity, right? It's your creative capacity, because technology is going to be able to do a lot of things that you're doing right now, right? What makes you needed in the classroom today is your creative capacity. And if you're not functioning from a place of creativity, then the way AI is coming for various, like I check, last year, tech companies laid off 260,000. That number is alarming, right? That number is very alarming, right? According to Statista, when I saw it, I was like, wow. So AI is starting with the tech sector. So in the United States, they laid off about 260. See, let me double check that number right now. And I'm going to, yeah. In 2023, tech companies in the US laid off more. Tech companies in the US laid off more than 260,000 employees. I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine? So these are signals. These are signals, very strong signals, right? That cannot be ignored, right? And that's why your greatest asset is your creative capacity. I can say that to you a million times. Your greatest asset is your creative capacity. That's what will make you needed today and in the future. That's what will make you needed forever. Within the school, within the K-12 landscape, that's what will make you needed forever. And that's why you need to nurture that capacity, right? You need to nurture that capacity. And one of the ways to nurture that capacity, right, is to invest in your context mastery, right? Your ability to connect your learners with today's world, right? Always. That's very important. As against subject mastery, right? It's good to have subject mastery, but more important today, because of where things are, right, is context mastery. That's very, very important, right? How well do you understand how the world is evolving, right? Because you cannot prepare your learners for a world that you do not understand. In this zone, we're not talking about raising kids to pass again. We are not, that's not what we're talking about in this zone. As disruptive educators, we want to break the status quo and want to change the way things are happening, right? And so it's about raising a breed of young people who are going to become agents, who can add value to the immediate society, right? So you cannot prepare them for a world you do not understand. That is context mastery. That is context mastery. That you understand today's world part time and strongly, and so that this when you do this, what is going to happen is that you are going to create that opportunity, because when you do this, the content that you bring to the classroom, right, will largely reflect the context in today's world. So you are bringing today into your classroom, so context becomes your content, right? And that's why I always say context becomes your content, right? So, and when you do that, and because this content is the avenue for you to either connect or disconnect them from today's world, what happens is that your learners are always in that place where they are relating, they are interacting with today's world. And on that premise, we can say that you are laying a foundation. Yes, that you are laying a foundation for them to thrive in today's world and in their own future. But outside of this, you are not laying that foundation, because that foundation is very important. That foundation is very, very important, right? Having a breed of young people who understand today's world, who can interact with today's world. Like I like to always talk. So I like to meet a lot of people across the globe. Like I'm always connecting with various people across the globe. By the way, good news. Yeah, good news. So next week Tuesday, we have Tom joining us from Cottesmore School in England. Cottesmore School is that school that hired what's it called? That AI is the head teacher. So please, you don't want to miss next week's session. Next week's session is going to be very powerful. We're going to have Tom. So Tom is going to share a story, right? Tom is going to share Cottesmore School, their AI adoption story. Tom is going to tell us how they broke into the world of AI, the whole process, how AI became their head teacher, what that means, and all of that, how they have embraced AI, and so we can just learn from that story, right? So please do not miss next week's edition. It's going to be very, very powerful, right? So yeah, so that's very, very crucial, and that's very, very important. And so I interviewed this boy, that reached out to me. I always like to tell a story. Opemipo, he just reached out to me on LinkedIn. Remember the first time we met, and it was like, oh, I'd like to interview you. I'd like to ask a number of questions. There's a app I'm working on, and I want to know this and that. Yeah, and I granted this request. We had the interview. I answered his questions and all of that. you know and one of these days, I saw that, he was saying that, oh, he wants to challenge himself, a year 11 students, and he wants to build a GPT powered app, and he wants to, right now, I can relate with that. When Okorimpo says that he wants to build a GPT powered app, I understand what he's talking about, but the question is, do you understand what he's talking about? So if I am going to help the students I have in my classroom today to realize their potentials, right? It's a high calling. It's a great assignment. It's a great assignment, right? Yeah, I can come to the classroom, like, I know late last year or thereabout. Part of the breakthroughs for OpenAI was that they opened a GPT store where people can now come in and the GPT powered apps, they can put it there so that others can, just like the Google Play Store and all of that, people can come in and buy. So every time you are talking like this, every time you are discussing from this perspective, what you are doing is that you are creating that opportunity, that link, right? And that is how that child in your classroom, right? The next Mark Zuckerberg, the next Jensen, the CEO of Nvidia, the next Elon Musk, the next. That is how they're going to get that spark. That's how they're going to be inspired, and that's how they're going to break. That's how they're going to, their potentials are going to find expression, right? Eventually, right? So we need learning to get to that point, right? We need learning to get to that point where these kids are finding expression, where they are discovering their potentials, right? And in turn, they are going back to their society to add value. We need learning to get to that point, right? We can no longer complain about things about how the world. There's, education is what is responsible for changing the narrative. Sorry, responsible for changing the narrative, and that's why we as educators, right, we have that role, right? Permit me to maintain Africa as the context right now. Last week we talked about the African Union, and we talked about the fact that the African Union, convention for the year, I don't know, it's 39th edition, some I don't know, right? But the focus for this year is that they have declared this year as the year of education, and the caption is educating an African child to be fit for the 21st century, right? So as an African, right, as an educator, as an African, right, you have to embrace that vision. So you are responsible in whatever school you are in, right, for making that vision find expression, right? So the African Union has declared this year as the year of education, educating an African child to be fit for the 21st century, right? And that's a powerful vision, right? So we all need to embrace it, right? We all have a role to play, right? And we all need to embrace it, and we all need to make sure that we are really making this happen, right? That we are truly educating our kids to be fit for the 21st century, not just to do well in exams, in traditional exams, right? Because that narrative is a serious blocker. It's a serious blocker, right? And I know that very soon and very soon, right? It's going to be disrupted largely, right? It's going to be disrupted largely. So think about that. Think about your role. Again, please, I'd like to hear from you in the chat section. What do you think about this conversation? What do you think about what we are discussing right here? Please share your thoughts, um, share your views, share your perspective. If you also have any question, feel free to ask. I don't want to be doing this alone. Yeah, okay, okay. I think I have a comment here. Yeah, thank you. Godward, yeah, Sephon said education is taking so many paradigm shifts and teaching and learning becoming more online based. There's a call to be more AI efficient and multidimensionally skilled in this season. Absolutely, Godward. Yeah, absolutely. That's the way it is. Thank you, Godward, for that comment. Yeah, yeah. So please let's keep it coming. I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to hear from you. Please feel free to share your thoughts. Yeah. Okay. Yes. So context mastery. Those are keywords from what I've been talking about so far. I've talked about context mastery. I've talked about AI literacy. Remember, I talked about those two courses from Google and Microsoft through LinkedIn. Uh, right. So this is time for you to start upskilling seriously. Right. It's not about today. It's about the future. Remember, the future belongs to those that prepare for you today, right? The future belongs to those that prepare for it today, right? Don't be too engrossed with the current realities, right? Think about the future. Think about the next 5 years. Think about the next 10 years, right? And that's why, as an education futurist, I'm playing my part. I'm doing my role. I'm sharing insights with you, right? That can help you make the right choice, right? As an educator, I'm sharing insights with you that can help you navigate the landscape as it stands right now, right? And it's left for you right now to begin to adjust, right? To begin to prepare for what is coming, right? To begin to prepare for what is coming, right? The world is changing and changing at a fast rate. And one of the reasons why you need to be connected to, you need to be an active part of this disruptive educators club is the fact that, we talk about the world as it's evolving, right? We focus a lot on context mastery. We focus a lot on context mastery. We focus a lot on that, right? And at EAZY-DIGI, we have a group that is dedicated towards sharing authentic content with the teachers in our network, right? We're always sharing content with them that that they can leverage on, to also widen and enrich their context mastery, right? We'll do a lot of that. Okay, yeah. So yeah, there's one more thing we'll probably talk about today, and then we'll just go for the day. But please, this time around, I want to hear from you. Yeah, I want to hear from you. 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 Please share your thoughts on these matters, on these things that we're talking about. What do you think about this whole thing? Right. And again, this is a good time to also ask questions. Right. Right. So again, it's very important for me to you know to again mention, right, that what we are seeing, the recent developments in the world of technology, and specifically artificial intelligence, right, is pointing towards a lot of things, right. It's pointing towards a lot of things. There has been some very strange developments, right, and it's pointing to the fact that again we have come to a time where you need to focus on upgrading your creative capacity, right? It's going to become so important. Your creative capacity, right? The likes of Sora from OpenAI, right? And what we're seeing, this recent developments, and this trajectory, and now it's changing. I think I saw this post by Tyler Perry. Let me, where is it? Okay, yeah, I found it. Let me read. Tyler Perry puts $800 million studio expansion on hold after seeing OpenAI Sora, and then he says jobs are going to be lost. Oh my god! And I shared the numbers, right. Last year, more than 260,000 people were laid off in the tech sector in the United States. See what Tyler Perry, and by the way, just February 22nd, right? That's just a few days ago, right? So he's been building this $800 million, project studio, but then he had to put it on hold when he saw Sora. It's just the way it is. It's the way it is. The landscape is changing. The landscape is changing. And again, all of these are signals. They are signals pointing to the fact that it is time for you as an educator, right, to upskill. It is time for you as an educator to review your skill set. Right. Let me read from that article. Right. The actor, filmmaker, and studio owner is raising the alarm about the impact of the tech, saying, I feel like everybody in the industry is running 100 miles an hour to try and catch up, to try and put in guardrails. Over the past 4 years, Tyler Perry had been planning an $800 million expansion of his studio in Atlanta, which would have added 12 sound stages to the 330-acre property. Now, however, those ambitions are on hold thanks to the rapid development he's seeing in the realm of artificial intelligence, including OpenAI's text-to-video model Sora, which debuted February 15th and stunned observers with its cinematic video output. Hey, jobs are going to be lost. Yeah, if you use this app, Duolingo, this language app, right? I think recently, maybe early this year, late last year, right? They laid off about 50% of their content creators. It's a language learning app. So they laid off about 50% of their content creators, and it's because they now have an AI that can translate the languages, right? I don't know if you've seen them. There are quite a lot of them, right? Those tools, those AI tools that can translate, right? So I can be speaking English and then what you're hearing is Chinese, right? The amazing thing, the way the thing is aligned with my lips and the movements, so amazing, like so amazing, and that has a lot of advantage and also some disadvantages, right? Which is something that we should also talk about, you know. But then these changes are happening, and what I'm bothered about is the fact that other sectors are responding quickly to these changes, right? But the education sector is not responding quickly to a large extent, you know, especially in places like Africa. You know, the tech sector is responding so quickly. The tech sector is responding so quickly, and speed is a strategy, right? And ever since I heard that statement from McKinsey, it has never left me. because I know the value of that statement. Speed is a strategy. Those that are fast will spend less in the future. They will spend less money, spend less time, spend less energy in the future. But those that are slow to innovation, they will spend more money in the future. They will spend more time, spend more energy. Speed is a strategy. It's a strategy, a serious strategy, a serious strategy. And I just can't get over that. Speed is a strategy, right? So I'm worried about the lack of agility in the education sector. How the education sector is responding to these things, right? And I know it's majorly because of the business side of things, but no matter how long it stands, it's going to be disrupted, right? And that's why it's important to think about it and all of that. Okay, we're going to be rounding off in the next few minutes. We are going to be rounding off in the next few minutes, and I'm excited about today, about all we've been able to achieve today in today's conversations. And I'm seeing a number of people that have joined from this session. For everyone that has joined us today, thanks for joining. Thanks for your time. Thanks for sharing your time with us in today's Disruptive Educators Club. So again, like we promised last week, I'm sorry I forgot to do that. We're gonna share the link to a WhatsApp group. I still need to put that together, where we can pass some more of that information even beyond now, right? We're going to share that. But again, please, this is a good time to hear from you. To all our listeners, out there, please share your thoughts. Tell us what you think about this whole conversation, right? And so before we go, I need to make a number of announcements, right? The first announcement is that at EAZY-DIGI, we are offering two courses, powerful courses for any. If you want to be a disruptive educator, right, I encourage you to leverage, to take hold of these courses. The first course is about how to design authentic learning in K-12, right? If you are a traditional teacher and you want to move away from the traditional, right, you want to start disrupting, you want to become a learning designer, you want to take your teaching to the next level, that course is for you. And the second course is a LinkedIn masterclass for education leaders and professionals. And this is for education leaders, right? If you want to take your school brand to the next level, right? I'll be showing you through the PVC model, people value content, and how that can upgrade and take your business to the next level on LinkedIn, right? That's the second course. This is for education leaders, right? And that's the first announcement. All right, so please send the DM for on LinkedIn for more information. I'm happy to tell you more about that. And also, next week we're going to be having a guest on the show. Next week we're talking about AI in education, right? That's what we're talking about next week. AI in education. We're going to listen to a school that has adopted AI on a high level, and hear their story, the challenges, how it has been, and see if we can pick one or two things from that story, and and get some inspiration. All right. So please do not miss next week's edition. It promises to be a nice time. All right. And I look forward to seeing you all by next week on this show. So again, thank you for your time. If you get to listen to this recording after now, please do well to share your thoughts, do well to ask your questions in the comment section. And until then, this is where I'm saying bye for now. Thank you, God word, and to every other person that joined. I can't see your names. I can only see that there are people that are joined and are listening to us. Right. Thanks for your time and thanks for joining us. Um, Please stay connected. Stay very much connected. There's still much to come. Thank you for your time. And I am about to sign out for today.